The unfortunate reality with the tight end position is unless you have a top-tier tight end in fantasy football, it's probably the hardest position to figure out. So that's why we're going through the top 15 rankings at the tight end position for Week 1 fantasy football. So we're starting on here with Tier 1 with Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce in this Thursday night matchup. Obviously, we're one day away from it, and the reality with Mark Andrews that I think separates him from Travis Kelce and really everybody else this week is in this matchup against the Chiefs. Not only is Mark Andrews the #1 target for Lamar Jackson, he's his favorite target, he always has been, but Mark Andrews and the Ravens are also dealing with some revenge action going on here. Obviously, they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC title game, so they're going for blood against the two-time defending Super Bowl champions in Kansas City. Baltimore is really good in the regular season, maybe not the best playoff team, but I think a lot of that factors into the mentality that the Ravens will come into with the Chiefs on Thursday night, and I think that Mark Andrews just being the #1 target, he's practicing this week, there's no reason to worry about injury, he's going to be fine, and I think he has the best tight end week. Now with Travis Kelce here at number 2 versus the Ravens here, I just think that Travis Kelce, what is important to remember is he will do his thing. He's obviously going to have his role in this offense. Now, the reason I don't like Travis Kelce as much season long as I do with like Sam Laporta up here at 3 is because I think Travis Kelce gets off to a hot start and then slows down, much like he did last year. So I think that Travis Kelce probably gets in the end zone against the Ravens here. I think that's not even a dangerous bet to make, but I do think that Travis Kelce has better games throughout the first 6 weeks of the season and then really kind of sees a tank in his production. So you better get in on him while he's hot, take it while it's hot, take it while it's not. So take Travis Kelce here in this Week 1 matchup against the Ravens here. Now, Sam Laporta at 3, taking on the Los Angeles Rams, I think has one of the best chances of being the highest scoring game in the entire week. And I'm not the only one who thinks it. Vegas thinks so as well. Look, we're talking about two potent offenses and two defenses that we think are good, but we don't know for certain how much better they are than they were last year. So obviously the Rams, they have an issue with losing Ernest Jones at the linebacker position and losing Raheem Morris as their defensive coordinator here. So Sam Laporta, the only problem I have with him is that obviously he's not the #1 target like Mark Andrews is, but obviously Sam Laporta in this high upside matchup with the draft capital, you're not sitting Sam Laporta. Now dropping down to our next tier right here. At number 4, I've got Dalton Kincaid against the Arizona Cardinals, and I've got Trey McBride in that same matchup here. Again, I think if it's not the Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit game, this has potential to be a high-scoring game as well. One of the highest scoring of the week, in my opinion. I think the Arizona Cardinals will be in significantly better position than I think a lot of people do this week, because the Cardinals this year, what you got to remember about the start of their season last year, they had no Kyler Murray. They had a brand new head coach. Trey McBride wasn't playing yet. So they basically had Marquise Brown, and cross your fingers, he was even healthy, and James Conner. This year, everything is so much better shape. Kyler Murray's back, he's fully healthy. Trey McBride is their #1 tight end option. Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in ready to go as an immediately pro-ready prospect in this league. I think Trey McBride benefits from that. And Buffalo's defense, I don't think is particularly great this year, which is why I do like Trey McBride. But the reason I like Kincaid better is because I truly believe that he's Josh Allen's #1 passing option, especially early. Look, the reality is that James Cook is going to get a lot of work as well, and he will get work out of the backfield receiving the ball. But the other part of this reality is that Keon Coleman cannot be trusted yet. Just based on watching him in the preseason, didn't look very good. Didn't look very reliable. Didn't look like the team was comfortable relying on him. They also have Khalil Shakir, who is probably going to be a majority slot receiver and probably will do good work. Dalton Kincaid over the middle of this Arizona soft defense, though, that's a matchup I want all day. So #1 target for Josh Allen against a softer defense, give me Dalton Kincaid just a little bit above Trey McBride this week. Now, George Kittle is at 6, and I think that with this matchup here, we all should know this by now with George Kittle if you're a veteran fantasy football player. This is your boom or bust tight end by like a large amount. Like, obviously a lot of tight ends are boom or bust per se, but the reality is that George Kittle provides the biggest boom. He can get you like 35 points, and he also can get you 0. So it's like, what do you think it's going to be? It's always hard to predict in the San Francisco offense, honestly, because you look at him this week against the Jets defense, not an easy matchup here whatsoever. Brandon Ayuk missed a bunch of times, so it's like maybe he's their #1 or 2 target this week, which is why I do like George Kittle, but I like him every week. So I'm never going to rank him probably outside the top 12 unless he has a really bad start to the season. So George Kittle here, definitely need to play him if you drafted him. Now with Evan Ingram here at 7, taking on the Miami Dolphins in Miami, I love this matchup here. I think this is the highest scoring matchup of the week. I think this one has the front runner to me to be the highest scoring matchup because neither of these defenses are good. The Miami Dolphins will take a step back. Mark that down. No more Vic Fangio in the defensive coordinator slot, and they have no more Christian Wilkins at the front of their defensive line. Their defense is taking a step back. So I think the Jags can have a really good offensive performance here. And just based on looking at the Jaguars' weapons right now, Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, is a guy that needs more time to develop. He's not ready yet to take 9 targets, 8, 7 targets in this offense. He's probably going to be a deep threat right away, which will probably be good in this game. But the reality is, Ingram is probably going to get 10 targets in this game. It's going to be very pass-heavy, high-scoring game in my opinion, and Evan Ingram is the guy who benefits from targets with Christian Kirk. So when I look at his line on Underdog, getting 45.5 reception yards, I'm taking that all day. I'm taking it all day because, again, I want in on a matchup like this that has so much offensive upside through the air, and I think that Evan Ingram is in good position to take advantage of. So if you want to take advantage of that line today on Underdog, go down in the comments and use the link, and when you use code FFN to sign up for Underdog, not only will they match your first deposit at 50%, up to $1,000 in bonus cash, but you can also take advantage of the free Travis Kelce line getting more than half a yard on Thursday night. So you obviously need to take advantage of that within the next day. So do it today by using code FFN. Now dropping down to our next tier right here. I've got Kyle Pitts at number 8 and Jake Ferguson at number 9. Kyle Pitts this week is going up against the Steelers, and the Steelers are historically pretty soft against tight ends. And Kyle Pitts obviously should be dealing with the best quarterback of his career at this point. And if it doesn't work, it's on him. Like, you need to start Kyle Pitts this week because the matchup is not bad and you drafted him too high to sit him. So you obviously play Kyle Pitts, but I have him here at 8 because I simply just can't rely on him to be better than Evan Ingram on a target perspective, to be more explosive than George Kittle is in the next tier as well. So he's down here at the beginning of this next tier, which is still a good tier, but I don't have as much trust in Kyle Pitts. I want to make that 100% clear. Now with Jake Ferguson, I have a lot of trust in him and his target share particularly. I don't have as much trust against the Cleveland Browns this week. And I don't know what Jake Ferguson's big play upside looks like. I know he's a good player. I watched him last year. I liked what I saw from him. And he's going to be reliable because Dak loves throwing it to a tight end. So I can count on Jake Ferguson's workload in this offense. Against the Browns this week, I don't know what the upside is going to look like. And I just don't know how to project him on his best weeks yet. And I don't think this is the best matchup for him. So I've got him here at 9. But again, great start here at the tight end position. Now David Njoku rounds out this tier at 10. Versus the Cowboys in that same matchup. You can also count on Njoku. I ultimately can't rely on him as much as Ferguson, though, because his target share on a weekly basis kind of varies. And we have to remember, when Njoku started playing really good last year was when Deshaun Watson wasn't there. And Deshaun Watson, this whole situation is obviously a mess. There's no more Joe Flacco. So what is David Njoku's importance to his current quarterback? I don't know. We don't really have a great answer yet. So David Njoku just gives me a little bit more pause than someone like Jake Ferguson. That's why it's a clear number 10 for me, and I wouldn't consider ranking him over Jake Ferguson this week. Now, dropping down to our next tier here, Tyler Conklin is at number 11, and Taysom Hill is at number 12. So obviously these two guys are probably out of nowhere for a lot of people. People are like, where's Pat Freiermuth? You know, well, Pat Freiermuth is on a bad offense. Anyways, Tyler Conklin, if you just look at him statistically, you can see those numbers on the screen on a per game basis. He was basically their number 2 target last year for the Jets. He can play. He can play ball, man. Like, this guy is a good receiving tight end. So give him Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old, coming off an Achilles tear. Aaron's going to want to throw the ball over the middle to Tyler Conklin because he has done it historically with tight ends in the past. And I think he has more red zone upside this year. So against the 49ers this week in San Francisco, don't love the matchup, obviously. But I honestly believe we're going to start seeing Tyler Conklin be a pretty consistent top 12 guy this year. Now with Taysom Hill, obviously it only works if he's a tight end on your roster. This is the only way it works. In some platforms, Taysom Hill is not a tight end, but in a lot of platforms, he is a tight end. So obviously, if Taysom Hill is a tight end in your platform, you go ahead and you play Taysom Hill because he's going up against the Panthers this week. Obviously, a good matchup here just based on defense alone, and it's a divisional matchup. And also, the most important thing about this is Dennis Allen loves Taysom Hill. He will continue to be involved even at like 34 years old. He's a jack of all trades, plays literally everything for the New Orleans Saints. And it's honestly very similar to Kittle, where it's like there's going to be weeks where he gets you nothing, but there's going to be weeks where he gets you 30 points. Now, it's not as frequent as Kittle. That's why he's down here lower. But at the tight end position at this point in the rankings, I'm going to go for the upside play, and I think Taysom Hill presents that this week. People will scoff at this ranking. Honestly, I consider this a compliment to Michael Mayer. I only rank him here because I believe he's a great tight end prospect. And I don't think he needs to get he was pro ready. So I don't think he needs like preparation time and he needs to like go through the season to get more opportunities. I think they know how valuable he is. That's why he was a top 15 pick for them. And the reason I consider this a respectful move to put him at 13, where I could have dropped him lower, is because the quarterback situation is bad and they're going up against a good defense. The Chargers this year with Jim Harbaugh will be a good defense. So rookie tight end history, bad. Offensive situation, bad. Matchup, bad. Don't love this situation at all, but just because he's so talented. Now, dropping down to our last tier right here, rounding it all out, Zach Ertz at 14 and Dallas Goedert at 15. So Zach Ertz is taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, and I'm sorry to people who, deeper dynasty guys and deeper best ball players, a lot of people drafting Ben Sinnott at the tight end position for Washington. Look, I think he's a longer-term upside play who probably will take over at some point if he's good. But the reality is right now, Zach Ertz is the tight end one in this offense. And I do think that with Jaden Daniels, probably going to be a good player to rely on for a little bit. Zach Ertz for a little while was okay with the Cardinals. So I think that he comes in and is a stabilizing force, especially probably their number 2 target behind Terry McLaurin. So Zach Ertz against the Buccaneers this week, not an ideal matchup. Don't love the player, obviously, at this point of his career. But at this point, he is their number 2 option, and he has a rookie quarterback who will definitely rely on him, especially early on in the season, while Ertz can still play at a decent level. And then rounding it all out, Dallas Goedert at 15. You know, Dallas Goedert is one of the most difficult tight ends for me because, like, just based on talent and based on offensive situation, I want to rank him higher. Last year was such a disaster for him, though. And even the start of this year, like, he missed a bunch of practice time. He's good to go. He'll be playing against Green Bay in Brazil this week. And ultimately, I just think this whole Brazil matchup is going to pose a lot of problems for both teams. I think they're both going to maybe look a little out of sorts, which is also contributed to why he's down a little bit. But ultimately, it just comes from a lack of trust in what we saw last year and just the targets that are available in Philadelphia at this point. Now, as I do at the end of every single ranking video, I give you my favorite tight end underdog pick of the week. So essentially, this is going for people who are getting into best ball drafts on a weekly basis on Underdog. So you can get in the NFL Sunday main slate games, or you can get any of those primetime best ball leagues. You want to take some deeper shots to really get that big spike week that a lower ranked player has potential to get on the particular week. My tight end this week is Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. He actually was relatively close to being inside the top 15 tight ends this week. Obviously, the Patriots offense sucks. Like, that's the main problem here, and he's going up against the Bengals this week. Here's the reality with what I think. When you look back to the last 2 weeks specifically last year, Hunter Henry was like the tight end 1 in fantasy. He was immediately relevant for them, and just based on their quarterback situation this year, probably better than Mac Jones, but really not that much. Like, their quarterback situation is one of the worst in the league. So I think that Hunter Henry will continue to provide a stable role in this offense. They had a chance to get rid of him in the offseason. They didn't. So I like Hunter Henry's ability to get a touchdown, maybe 2, in this matchup against Cincinnati this week. So let me know how your team was looking so far this week. And if you want to see the top 12 defense rankings for this week, click on this video right here.